Imagine this scene: 52 tons of steel thundering across the desert at 48 kilometers per hour. The 105mm M68 gun roars, sending shells flying 2 kilometers with incredible accuracy. This is the American M60 Patton, the tank that became the main workhorse of the United States during the entire Cold War, fought in several major conflicts, and still serves in dozens of countries around the world, even after it was officially retired in America itself. It was called the last of the Pattons, NATO's reliable workhorse, and the tank that simply refused to die. Why did a machine developed in the late 1950s as a response to Soviet T-54 and T-55 tanks turn out to be so reliable and long-lived? Why is it still being upgraded and fighting in the 2020s? And why, despite all its flaws, did the M60 become one of the most successful American tanks of the 20th century? Today we uncover the story of this eternal Patton. Subscribe, hit the bell, and let's dive into the drama of the Cold War and its unexpected continuation. The late 1950s. The Cold War is in full swing. The Soviet Union is mass-producing T-54 and T-55 tanks, cheap, reliable, armed with a powerful 100mm gun. The US Army is still relying on the M48 Patton, which is already falling behind its Soviet rivals. They needed something new, a tank capable of standing up to Soviet armored hordes in Europe. In 1957, development of the XM60 began. They took the M48 hull as a base, replaced the gasoline engine with a powerful Continental AVDS 1790 diesel, installed a licensed British 105mm M68 gun, a version of the famous L7, and improved the armor. In 1959, the tank was officially adopted as the M60. Production started at Chrysler and Detroit Arsenal plants. In total, about 15,000 vehicles of various modifications were built by 1983. This was America's first true main battle tank, not a medium or heavy tank, but a universal MBT. The main paradox of the M60 is that it was never the strongest in any single category, yet it was reliable, convenient, and incredibly durable. The main gun was the 105mm rifled M68. It could fire all NATO standard ammunition, APDS, Heat, and HESH rounds. Effective firing range reached 2,000 meters with high accuracy, thanks to the stabilizer, on later versions. Ammunition load, 63 rounds. Secondary armament included a 12.7mm M85 machine gun in the commander's cupola and a 7.62mm M240 coaxial machine gun. Armor was classic homogeneous steel. The hull front on the M60A1 was 109mm at 65 degrees, equivalent to over 250mm. The turret was cast, with frontal armor up to 330mm around the gun mantlet. Not the thickest armor in the world, but sufficient for its time. The engine was a V12 diesel AVDS 17902, producing 750 horsepower. Power-to-weight ratio was about 14 to 15 horsepower per ton. Top speed on the highway reached 48 kilometers per hour, with a range of up to 500 kilometers. Suspension was torsion bar with 6 road wheels per side. Crew of 4, combat weight 52 tons. Modifications kept making the M60 better year after year. The M60A1 received a new needle-nose turret with improved armor and more internal space. The M60A1 Rise, reliability improved selected equipment, solved many engine and transmission problems. The M60A3 became the pinnacle of the series. Laser rangefinder, thermal sight, improved fire control system, and passive night vision devices. The M60A3 was considered one of the best tanks of the 1970s and 1980s in terms of price-to-quality ratio. Its combat career did not begin in America. The first serious baptism of fire came in 1973 during the Yom Kippur War. Israeli M60S, known locally as Magak 6, fought against Egyptian and Syrian T-62 and T-55 tanks. Despite heavy losses at the beginning of the war, the M60S performed well. The 105mm gun effectively penetrated Soviet armor, and the American tanks proved more survivable thanks to good ergonomics and fast repair times. In 1982 in Lebanon, Israeli M60s again faced Syrian T-62s, and once more demonstrated superiority in maneuver and fire control. American M60s rarely saw direct combat themselves. Special variants such as bridge layers, AVLB, and engineer versions, M728, were used in Vietnam, but the main tanks were not sent there due to difficult terrain and lack of large-scale tank battles. However, during Operation Desert Storm in 1991, US Marine Corps M60A1s destroyed over 100 Iraqi tanks while losing only one of their own. The M60 proved reliable in desert conditions and worked excellently with thermal sights and laser rangefinders. The paradox of the M60 is that in the United States itself, it was gradually replaced by the M1 Abrams in the 1980s and officially retired in 1997. But around the world it continues to serve. Egypt, Turkey, Taiwan, Israel, Saudi Arabia, and many other countries still operate modernized M60s. Some have received 120mm smoothbore guns, explosive reactive armor, new engines, and modern fire control systems. Why? Because the M60 is simple to maintain, cheap compared to new tanks, has an enormous supply of spare parts, and enjoys an excellent reputation among crews. It is not the best tank in the world, but it is extremely practical, reliable, repairable, and still capable of performing missions even in the 2000s. Comparison with its rivals highlights its strengths. Against the Soviet T-62, the M60 had better optics, stabilization, and ergonomics, although armor was similar. Against early T-72s, it was already harder, but modernized M60s with reactive armor remain dangerous opponents. Compared to the Leopard 1, the M60 was heavier and better protected. Compared to the Abrams, it was much cheaper and simpler. That is exactly why many countries still consider it a cost-effective option for their armies. In conclusion, the M60 Patton is a classic example of the American approach to military equipment. Not the most revolutionary, but reliable, mass-produced, and continuously improved. It did not become a legend of a single battle like the Tiger or T-34, but it became the reliable workhorse of an entire era. A tank born as a response to the Soviet threat, it survived the Cold War, fought in deserts and mountains, and continues to serve wherever simplicity and reliability are needed. This is the story of how a good, but not perfect tank can live a long and useful life. And now a question for you. Was the M60 the best American tank of the Cold War, or simply a solid average performer that was saved by mass production and constant upgrades? Should countries today continue using old M60s instead of buying expensive modern machines? Write your verdict in the comments, eternal pattern or relic of the past. If the video hooked you, like, subscribe, hit the bell. Next episode, another armored legend that outlived its time. See you on the battlefield of history. Bye.